In today's episode, we're destroying a clutch right before diving into the many botched up rust repairs that have been done to my Saab 900.
All my friends, yellow rider.
Hey guys, so in this episode I really want to start with fixing all the rust on the car and also fixing the past rust repairs. But before I'm going to do that, I think it is a good idea to make sure that the car drives the way it is supposed to. And the last thing that I think is inhibiting us from doing that is the clutch. In the previous episode I showed you guys that there was a weird vibrational issue when the car sets off in first gear, and my guess is that it has something to do with the clutch, so we're going to take it apart and look for an issue. Being a Saab 900, these clutches are a bit special. Well, the clutch itself isn't anything special, but the location is. So they are mounted at the front of the engine, and then you've got the gearbox in here underneath of the engine, which is pretty cool. And the way this gearbox is connected to the clutch assembly is with a removable shaft that we are going to have to take out later. So I've never done one of these. I'm thinking that it should be a lot easier than an ordinary clutch. So yeah, let's see. We're going to start with taking off this plastic cover and the wiring loom. The next step in my repair manual is to block the pressure plate, and we're going to do that by pressing the clutch pedal. That will move the slave cylinder into the pressure plate, and then we have to put something in between to keep the pressure plate from going back. Normally there is a special Saab tool for that, but I'm going to try with this thick piece of wire. Okay, so the wire is in place, and hopefully now when I release the clutch we are going to have some play between the slave cylinder and the pressure plate, and that way it will be possible to take this out. I hope that will be enough, but we'll notice that when we take out the slave cylinder. But now first we need to take out the shaft that sits in between the gearbox and the clutch. Using an M8 bolt, it should be able to pull the shaft out. Aha. That worked perfectly, and now I have to remove 3 bolts for the slave cylinder and hopefully it comes out. I have been battling the slave cylinder for about half an hour. And I can't get it out, so I went back to my repair manual, and it turns out I have misinterpreted what I needed to do. I thought that the slave cylinder would be able to come out like that, but apparently you need to take it out together with the pressure plate. So we're going to undo these bolts and hopefully the whole unit comes out. Okay, so at this point you were probably expecting me to take that clutch out like a pro, and actually that is not what happened. I have been struggling with it for about 2 hours. That is before I got really mad and this happened. Basically what happened is that everything got stuck. I couldn't install the clutch again, I couldn't take it out anymore, so I just took the angle grinder and got away at the pressure plate, and that was that. But don't worry, I ordered everything new, so we're going to dive into the clutch later. Next, I really want to start with the metal work on this car, and there is quite a lot of it to do. In the first episode on this car, we briefly went over everything that needs to be done. And basically it comes down to that we need to do some fixes of the rust repairs that have already been done in every wheel corner of the car. The amount of work is pretty overwhelming, so what I think I'm going to do is to start with one wheel or wheel arch, and then once that is finished we're going to move to the next one. So we're going to take off this wheel and see what we need to do. Okay, so a quick explanation of how all of this is connected together. So over here you have the outside body with the outside wheel arch. That is connected to an inner wing, which is spot welded right here on the outside of the wheel arch. You can actually see those spot welds from the outside, but normally there should be a plastic piece over it. And then over here you have the inside part of the body, and that is also spot welded to this inner wing, but on the inside of the car. I'm going to start with taking out this little repair that they've done, because I have a feeling that they just welded this little plate onto the rust that was on the inner wing. I could be wrong, but yeah, my gut feeling tells me that that is what they did, and that will obviously start rusting immediately again. So we're going to cut this out and see what we can find behind it. I'm also going to take off this little molding, which is riveted in two places. Okay, so I think there is going to be a little bit more rust under here, so what I'm going to do is to take the wire wheel, strip the paint away until I can't find any rust anymore, cut away the rusty metal, and then make a replacement piece of sheet metal. It's pretty flat with just one fold in it, so it should not be that difficult. Okay, so I have a good idea of what needs to come out. I'm going to cut a little farther than I would, because on the inside in here there is a big rust spot that I also want to treat, so that way I can have access to it through this hole. Now you guys can see that there is some rust on the inside, but if there are any holes, I can weld it from inside out. But these areas are still hard, so I'm just going to treat them against the rust. So behind the scenes I already started with making the plates that will be welded into the holes that we just cut. And the plan actually was that one of my very skilled friends who usually welds up my cars was coming over and do the welding. But unfortunately he is occupied for the next few weeks, so there is nothing left to do but to weld it myself. Big disclaimer, I am a complete noob at welding. I think I've used the MIG welder maybe 2 or 3 times and that's it. So all of this is new to me. I have seen some skillful people use them, but still, yeah, that's not really anything I can use right now. But yeah, what I did is I borrowed a MIG welder from one of my friends, and then for the past hour I have been making this masterpiece just to try it out and to get a feel for the settings. And now I think I am ready to give it a go on the car. First I'm going to try to weld this little piece right here. Well guys, that is my first piece of sheet metal ever that I welded. I know it doesn't look pretty. I didn't really expect anything else. Especially here there are a lot of boogers, but that was because I blew a big hole in it. But I managed to close it, so that is good. And now we're going to go over it with the flappy disc to make it a little bit cleaner. So this is what everything looks like ground flat, and I've also covered this section in rust inhibitor because soon this will be welded up and then it won't be this easy to reach everything. Afterwards I'm going to hit it with some edge primer and hopefully that is enough to keep everything from rusting. I might also add a little bit of anti-rust wax, but we'll see about that. But I do wonder, is this the best method of keeping rust away? There are probably some very experienced people in the comment section that might have a better idea. So yeah, let me know, how would you protect this situation with fresh welded metal inside of a rocker panel? Okay, so next I want to weld the little plate that goes here. So I've already fabricated a piece of sheet metal that fits pretty well. But what is going to be challenging is to get the perfect arc, because there needs to be a bend here. So what I did is I cut this piece out of the gray Saab and we're going to use that as a template to make this piece fit perfectly. Also, don't pay attention to this hole, I cut that out on the inside, but we're going to take a look at that later. This is the final product, and we've also added some holes here and here, so that is for the spot welds. And now let's see if we can make it fit. This is what plate number 2 looks like, and you can see I've already grinded away all the welding beads. They looked really ugly, so that is why I did that off camera like a sneaky boy. Now we are going to move to the next little plate. I've already prepared it, and these 4 holes will be used to spot weld it and connect it like so. So let's go ahead and weld that in as well. So here I've got some more booger welding for you guys. I know it looks pretty hideous. I was really struggling with welding upside down. But luckily I am better with a grinder than with a welder. So let's see if I can clean this up a little bit. So that is the result of the first corner of the car being completely welded up. I have to say that I messed up the angle here a little bit of this plate. You can see that it goes a little bit upwards. But yeah, I'm sure with a bit of body filler we can make that line look way smoother. And for the rest of the wheel well, I am planning to take off all the coating that is currently in it. And then we're going to recoat it and paint it in the car's color again. But first, obviously, we need to fix this corner. And this looks way worse than the other side. So I'm sure we're going to find some nice rust under all of these disgusting fixes. First I'm going to take it back to bare metal. The first plate I'm going to take out is this little one, because it's the easiest and that gets me motivated, and then I can also see what is sitting behind it. Actually, aside from the bad repairs, it doesn't look that bad in there. But now we are going to open this up. Nice. Okay guys, my dad is trimming the hedges outside, so don't pay attention to that. But yeah, I cut away pretty much all of the rust that I could find. And boy, are we going to have to make a lot of plates to fill all of this up. I think it's going to be impossible to make all the plates in one go, so what I think I'm going to do is make a plate, weld it in, then prepare the next one, weld that in, and so on, until all of this looks like fresh metal again. So let's get to it. Okay guys, so this second section is done, and boy was it tricky. Not only was there a lot of rust revealing everywhere, but also the nature of these parts is not very easy. So you can also see that the gap between here is a little bit too big, but I am going to fix that with a little bit of silicone, so we're not going to have to worry about that. The most important thing is that there is only fresh metal inside of this, so we should be good for the near future. And I actually thought that this would be it, welding the parts here and right over there. But on closer inspection, I think I'm going to have to take the entire wheel well back to bare metal, because there are some small spots of rust revealing themselves underneath all of this sand. So just to make sure, I'm going to take it back to bare metal, and then we're going to put it in epoxy and then put a coating over it. It is now day 65 of working on this part of the Saab, and I am slowly getting sick of it. But I just got some great news. One of my good friends gave me a really good tip on how to remove the undercoating in this thing. You can see that I'm already halfway there, but now we should be able to speed things up by using my multi-tool. You might have seen me already using this to cut the metal away in certain areas, and this comes in very handy when you don't have a lot of space to work with. But apparently it is also very good at scooping away undercoating, so let me quickly demonstrate. The thicker the undercoating, the better it will work. Unfortunately, my undercoating is pretty thin, but still I am managing to scoop away quite a lot, and that is saving me both time and also strain on my grinder, because the steel wire wheel on the grinder isn't really that good for it, I believe. So yeah, I'm pretty happy that I can already do the heavy work with this and then use my grinder for the rest of it. I am pretty much done with taking everything to bare metal apart from some small spots, but unfortunately I did find some extra work. First of all, over here we have a small hole that will be easily fixable. Then right up here we have the drain for the sunroof. That is also going to be an easy fix, just cut it out and put in a new plate. But then the main prize is right over here. After I removed the shock absorber, this is what I encountered, and yeah, it is a hot mess. So I'm afraid that we're going to have to take off this plate by drilling out the spot welds. And then hopefully underneath it's not too bad, but I don't have my hopes up. So yeah, this just added a few more hours or days to this project, so I better get to it. I am pretty sure that behind the big suspension beam there is going to be a bunch of rust. So what I am going to do is cut a sizable chunk out here on the inside, take out the spot welds, then take the plate out, treat everything, and then weld the plate back in. But unfortunately this bracket is in the way, so we are going to have to take that out as well. I cleaned up everything on the inside and the outside so we can go straight into welding. I've already prepared this plate, and something to note is that this is 2mm thick instead of the usual 1mm that we have been encountering so far. That is obviously because it needs to be stronger for the suspension, so it is also a bit harder to make it properly fit. So what I am going to do is already start welding the plate in the spots where it is fitting correctly, and with it already fixed in its position, it's going to be much easier to bend it into shape. I finished the 2mm plate, and then I also did the 1mm one on the inside, and now this is the last piece of the puzzle, and it is going to be a challenge to massage it into place. So guys, I finally finished with welding in the wheel well. The result is pretty good, but man, am I sick of working in this area. Before I'm going to bed tonight, I'm going to coat all of this in epoxy primer so that it doesn't rust anymore. And then tomorrow we are going to put some undercoating on it and maybe a little bit of silicone as well to finish it off. Some wax and grease remover. This 2K epoxy filler got recommended to me, so let's give it a go. I have let the epoxy cure overnight. It looks pretty good, and then I also added some extra seam sealer to protect the seams from getting moisture in them. And then next we are going to put on this undercoating. I bought this at my local hardware store, and you need a special gun like this to apply it. It is the same stuff that I used on my BMW, and I was pretty happy with the result, so that is why we're going to use it on the Saab as well. And now to finish this off, we're going to coat it in the car's original color. So, I almost can't believe that I'm going to say these words, but yeah, I think we are done with this wheel well, and boy was it a big project. I really underestimated how much time goes into something like this, and I have found new respect for bodywork guys that do this type of stuff on a daily basis. They must have an incredible amount of patience and skills. I think this whole project took me about 3 weeks, not every day and not every hour of it, but basically all of my spare time. So you can imagine that I am pretty stoked that I'm finally done with this. I'm also very happy with the result. I think with my skill level this is the best that I could have hoped for. So yeah, maybe if I do this a little bit more I might be able to do it even cleaner and probably a lot faster. So yeah, that is something to look forward to. For the next corner of the car we are definitely going to be facing some similar issues. But the big difference here is that on my other car, the grey Saab, this section is still in pretty good condition. So we should be able to steal some parts off of that one, and that will definitely speed up the repair process on this one. But all of that might need to wait for a couple of days, because I just heard that my dad's BMW has broken its water pump and I will need to fix that as soon as possible. Then also the Golf still is broken from our trip to the Nürburgring. I really need to replace the piece of exhaust that has broken in half. And then regarding the Saab, there is still the clutch issue that actually is the issue that I made myself. I have ordered the special tool to mount the clutch, and I have ordered a new pressure plate, so we should be able to fix that as well. So lots more content to come. I hope all of you will be around for watching it. If you liked today's episode, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to my channel. And otherwise, I hope to see all of you in the next one.